this sweeter than 91?
Well, it definitely is as sweet, because we have had a very traumatic year up here, and thankfully around Christmas time we all got together, cleared up the misunderstandings, and everybody since Christmas worked extremely hard, and I think today the players got their just rewards.
Physically, you look even more intimidating than in 91. You're a very strong side right all over the field.
Yes, Tyrone are probably one of the smaller teams around. They're a very young side, a very inexperienced side, and they will come again. Today, I think our experience told, and as you say, probably our advantage in physique told, particularly around the middle of the field. And as I said earlier, our long-range scores, points in both halves, were decisive, I thought.
Even when you conceded a goal in the second half, you came back with a series of unanswered points straight away.
That's true. When Tyrone got that goal, it left with only 4 points, and that put it up to our players. But they did show great character, great composure, and probably at that stage in the game, that is where our experience came to play. And I think in those stages, our experience did prove decisive.
Obviously, you go to Croke Park now, playing the Munster champions, and presumably you're saying to yourself, well, this isn't an end of it all the way again.
Well, I mean, I think given the standard that Ulster teams have set over this past 3 years, Clonus now and winning the Ulster title is no longer an end in itself. We all look to further horizons, and we will certainly be looking to Cork or Tipperary, and they're our next opponents, and hopefully we can do as well as Donegal and Derry did in recent years.
Congratulations, well done.
So down then, the Ulster champions again, pretty much as most people had expected, but perhaps with a greater ease than we might have thought. Let's take a look at the statistics from that game. A very small number of wides in the course of the 70 minutes, just 10 in all, with Down hitting 2 more than Tyrone. There were plenty of frees, mind you, 55 in all, with Down giving away 31 and Tyrone conceding 24. Well, in terms of scoring chances, Down converted 18 of the 29 they got. That's a 65% scoring rate. Tyrone converted 12 of the 21 chances they got, and that's a 57% return on their efforts. Well, watching that match in Clonus on our behalf this afternoon was Colin O'Rourke. Colin, you're very welcome to the programme. I mentioned there a moment ago that Down won as most people would have expected, perhaps with a greater ease than we thought. Would you go along with that?
Yes, I thought there was going to come a day soon when Greg Blaney and James McCarthy and Mickey Linden wouldn't play as well as they had been playing, and that Down might be in trouble. But in fact, Blaney and McCarthy probably weren't as influential today, yet Down won the game very easily. In fact, probably should have won it with a bit more in hand, because they were really the dominant side all through, apart from maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes.
It is ironic that at around Christmas time, there was a dispute as to whether Greg Blaney or maybe even James McCarthy mightn't play for Down, certainly in the foreseeable future anyway. Amazing how things turn themselves around, because things looked really bad for them at that stage, a lot of internal disputes.
That's right, and of course we beat them in the quarter-final of the league as well, and things didn't seem to be going that well for them. But in fairness to Greg Blaney and James McCarthy, they've really put their heart and soul into Down over the last couple of months, and they've been two of the big successes of this championship. And in fairness to Peter McGrath, I think some of the moves that he has made during this championship have all worked very well. So both the players and the management seem to be playing their part.
They might have stretched it out in the end. It was tight enough at the beginning, and then Down, of course, missed this penalty, which could have been crucial. Yes,
it was fairly balanced up to the time of the first penalty. Beautiful pick up here by Mickey Linden, who caused problems all through again, and into Greg Blaney. And Greg held on to it for a good while there, but Faye Devlin commits a cardinal sin by picking the ball straight off the ground in the small square. And I think you can see there was a lot of Tyrone players around, and they did well to block up Greg Blaney. And you know, Faye Devlin had time to put his boot under it there, and
panicked a little bit, you might feel.
Possibly. Tommy McDermott well up with the play too, and saw that it was picked off the ground. Mickey Linden then blazes it wide. In the second half, Hayden Farrell does well, gets inside, gives a hint to one boot, James McCarthy, and tore into the parallel ground. I'd say in Tyrone to be calling him Klinsman after this one. But James was having his problems with Paul Donnelly all day, and the two of them were, there was a lot of niggly incidents between the two of them. A lot of messing went on, and Mickey Linden left it to Ross Carr, and he put it straight in. So at that stage, really, Down were very much in command.
Tyrone, mind you, got a goal themselves, which kept them very much in the hunt at that stage.
Yeah, well, the game needed a Tyrone goal, because Down were totally dominant, and halfway through the second half, then Tyrone got this goal. It was about the only time that Tyrone ran at the Down defence in numbers. Peter Canavan was about the only Tyrone forward to make an impression inside here to Kilpatrick, and Neil Collins as well. Adrian Cush following up puts the ball in very nicely. But as you can see here, a lot of Tyrone forwards inside attacking, and Adrian Cush does very well there. And at that stage I thought maybe Tyrone would make a game of this, because they were 4 points behind. they seemed to be coming with a bit of a charge, and the Down response, I suppose, was the response of a very, very good team.
Well, that's the next clip that you have picked out, because just to illustrate that response, a couple of quick points from Down then, and that really killed it off, didn't it?
Yes, the game was really over, and I suppose here you had Down at their best. Blaney to Linden, the sort of standard thing. Linden foul, still holds on to the ball and kicks an absolutely brilliant point from play. And I suppose every team knows that's going to happen, Blaney to Linden. Nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. And then straight from the kick out, Craig Blaney gets the ball and puts it straight back over the bar. And that was it. People could have gone home at that stage. Down were 6 points up. And then the last 15 minutes of the game was really a stroll for them.
OK, Colin, at this stage, let me ask you who your man of the match selection from that game was.
Well, there was a few Down players. I think the Down players were completely dominant in their respective man-to-man confrontations today, especially around the middle of the field. Now, I've given Mickey Linden so many man of the match awards that I'm sure he won't mind if it goes to some of the other players, even though Linden, again, was very influential. But DJ Kane had a brilliant game at left half-back today, and I chose him as man of the match.
Oh, certainly DJ played a captain's part today in Down's victory in Ulster. On that point, it was interesting to hear Pete McGrath say there that Ulster teams are now just no longer satisfied to win a provincial title, that they then want to go all the way, and obviously this is Down's ambition now.
Absolutely, they're getting very greedy up there. They don't want any other province to win anything anymore, and of course with Derry and Donegal gone before, and I suppose when you look back, I suppose the Ulster final really was that match between Derry and Down, which was played about 6 weeks ago, and they'll be very confident. If Down can come to Croke Park and score a goal in 17 points, I think they're going to beat anybody else that's left in it. But if Cork win the Munster final, I suppose it's expected that they will beat Tipperary, and if they do, I think we're in for a hell of a match with them and Down.
See, the interesting thing about Down is that although they have been out of the picture for the past 2 years, in fact on both occasions they haven't been too far away from the mark, because Derry was their problem, and Derry have obviously no bad side.
That's right. Well, the standard of Ulster football is obviously higher than anywhere else, and Down ran into Derry, a very good Derry team, and were beaten twice. And of course, Derry probably be thinking now that, you know, if things had been a little bit different that day 6 weeks ago, they could now be in the All-Ireland semi-final. So if you win an Ulster title anymore, you can go to Croke Park with confidence of beating anybody.
The Down team has changed a little bit since they won that title in 1991. If you were to compare the sides from what you've seen of Down so far this year, do you think they have the team to do it again now at All-Ireland level?
Well, I had my doubts about some areas of the Down team, but I think today that Down put in a better team performance than nearly they have in the other games, because their half-backs and their midfielders today were much better than I think in any of the other previous matches. And they still have this great scoring power that probably no other team in the country has. When you think about the fellas like Gary Mason and Mickey Linden, Greg Blaney, James McCartan, Ross Carr, all able to kick very good scores from play. And then you had Paul Higgins and Eamon Burns moving up and kicking points as well, and Gregory McCartan from midfield. So there's very few teams actually can have this spread of scoring power that Down have, and they're going to be very hard stopped.
Well, certainly on the evidence of today. Colin, thank you very much for the moment. We'll be talking to you perhaps.